Hey everybody, it's Chris. Welcome to episode 14 of Thoughtfully Critical. I just wanted to kind of show off that the crepe myrtles in my area here are going nuts. It's spring, and I love spring, so I wanted to start the podcast off with a little bit of growth and positivity and good vibes to my listeners. Today I'm going to be covering two different topics. First, I'm going to rant a little bit about the wired versus wireless debate and give you a chance to comment. And then second, I'm going to really rant a bit about maintenance. So hopefully you'll enjoy my take on, almost 30 years of dealing with applications and the good and the bad of what I see people maintain or not. As always, I'd appreciate if you could drop a comment, a like, a follow, a subscription if you're on YouTube, whatever platform you are on. I love your engagement. It means everything to me. It's the fuel that drives me. So anything you can do would be appreciated. I think the first thing I want to talk about is this nerd debate that goes on frequently. I was in a conversation with some friends and it got pretty heated. So I thought I'd extend the wired versus wireless conversation when it comes to keyboard and mice. Now I'll come out swinging with my perspective. I'm 1000% wired. I get it. Wireless has conveniences. Sure, there's like pluses to it. But I think that I hate charging devices. And in my experience, like Murphy's Law, every time it could be low on charge, it will be when you need it to not be. So in other words, every time I need it, it's not there for me. And I think that hits deep. So I'm very pro wired. My keyboard, mouse, and pretty much everything here is wired. I have a pair of earbuds that are wireless for when I go hiking. That's kind of it. And my phone. So I'm very much in the pro-wired camp of tech nerds. What camp are you in and why? Feel free to respond in a comment or make your own video and tag me or whatever it is that you want to do to show your support for the wired or wireless segment, why you feel that way, and maybe some examples of some things that you're using. I'd love for people to tell me how wrong I am on the internet. The other topic I want to cover is maintenance. This is also a conversation I've been having with other folks, and it keeps coming up. So I wanted to offer my thoughts here on Thoughtfully Critical. To be fair, maintenance in my mind is sort of, think of day two operations when you deploy something. Think of the decision making that it takes to figure out, how the operations evolve, right? Because the way that you maintain something the first day that you inherit it are very different from the way that you maintain something 1,000 days after you've inherited. At the very minimum, versions of things are going to change. And so I just think in general, maintenance is sort of like everything past the point where you deploy a system that goes to production. What then does it take in terms of time, energy, thought, just effort to continue to maintain and operate and eventually like get rid of the service? And so maintenance, that's maintenance to me. And it's interesting because I think in my experience, maintenance is one of those things that rarely gets attention. People like to talk about it. Everyone's like, oh yeah, maintenance and day two operations and all that kind of jazz. We like to talk about it. Feels good. But then we've already satisfied the dopamine hit and we don't do it. And don't feel alone in that. A lot of places do not pay attention to maintenance and operations. It's usually, that's the norm actually. It's very rare to see operations given the energy that it deserves. And I think I say that because those that do really well in maintenance and operations and understand how fundamental that is to their business and are past the growth point where they can afford to start pouring more into maintenance. I get it when you're a baby startup, it's tough to pour time and energy into that. Like you're really just trying to hire and grow as fast as humanly possible. So we'll leave kind of them out of the segment. But for most companies, maintenance in general is just something that has such a huge impact when it's done right. And I think cognitively, if you take a step back and you think through maintenance, right, that's, of the life cycle, if I could put my hands out and make a virtual time bar here, like it's 99.999% of the work, right? It's the vast majority of what it takes, past the point of building something. Which is interesting. right? Like that's an interesting way of looking at it. Maybe you disagree. And the interesting thing there is like then your team has gone off and they're going to build something else, and then the maintenance of that becomes interesting. Now, I'm not trying to say that like people suck at maintenance and don't understand what needs to be done, and there's certain levels of maintenance that I think everybody does and operates their software, but more like the other half of maintenance, I think, is the piece that gets missed, the kind of design and architecture of it. Because the place where I see people make the most mistakes is where they take the original plan and they never change it. And sometimes that's valid, but in a lot of cases, the maintenance needs to keep pace with the evolution of the times, right? We have to change our ways. I think no example kind of highlights this better than what everybody's dealing with VMware right now, where all I see on my LinkedIn are like, get off of VMware and licenses are up to like 72 cores. And I'll say like, I've not been in that ecosystem in a very long time, and looking, kind of re-looking at it with fresh eyes, I'm like, damn, that does not look fun. That looks like a lot of craziness is going on there. So my heart goes out to you. But it's also like part of that equation of like, how long do we want to keep kicking the can and doing the same thing? And how long does this patch, which was kind of virtualization, it was a Band-Aid. It's kind of a technical deference machine. How long do we want to keep doing that? And then something happens, like Broadcom. And then, man, all of a sudden, a lot of change starts happening. A lot of pain starts being felt. So I would roll, kind of getting off into the weeds there, but I would roll all of that into the concept of maintenance and maybe operations as a secondary term, because I think, just as much planning needs to go into onboarding and keeping the lights on for whatever it is that you're maintaining, as for how it's going to evolve and eventually like how do we get rid of it? Either in its current iteration or because we're replacing it with something better, right? And if we're always planning on doing that, then it's no longer as much of a surprise when we need to do that. Because guess what? You're always going to need to do that. You always need a plan for how you're going to evolve maintaining your things. And guess what? That feeds directly into your inputs of whatever, group that's responsible for designing your solutions, right? Like that's the feedback loop. That's how the loop comes back in on itself, is the maintenance and the operations of what exists. So there we go. That's a little rant. I don't know. Maintenance has been coming up a lot. It's near and dear to my heart. I don't think it gets nearly the time and attention that it deserves. So in my very small way, I wanted to help correct that. So those are my thoughts for this particular week. I'll go ahead and plug the fact that I've really been active on YouTube. I've produced, I think, 4 courses now on my Essentials series, covering everything from getting started with your AWS landing zone, getting started with Terraform, connecting GitHub Actions using OIDC to AWS, and then most recently a pre-commit hooks video. So highly suggest going over there, check it out. I'm trying to produce as much nerdy, interesting content as I can in addition to this podcast. So any little interest that you may have there goes a long way. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me this week on Thoughtfully Critical. Let's talk again soon. Peace and love.